Yes.
Oh, okay, then never mind. I won't.
I believe Paul sent him his link, so I just renamed him.
Okay. Wait.
No, he's gone again.
He might be
Okay.
having computer problems.
Maybe I should text him anyway. I'll text him. I did a screenshot. Hold on. Oh, I gotta find his number again.
Beverly is King Fung. Very good.
What would you say, Joan?
Under your name, you have King Fung.
Yeah, Beverly is
on
King
your
Fung.
screen, you have King Fung is your name.
How did that happen?
Computers.
How did that happen?
Lands of
I'll tell you how that
technology.
That happened
Lands of
because
technology.
when he left, you were the next name up, and I was renaming him, and it just changed your name.
I changed it for Beverly.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Lost his number. Hold on. Yeah, he didn't pick up the phone, maybe because he didn't recognize my number, obviously, but.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hazar, if you could let him know, I emailed him and I sent him a screenshot of the directions on how to join by phone.
That's a nice picture. Unless you're frozen. Oh, there you go.
I think I'm frozen. That's what I'm trying to figure out here.
You're good now. You're good now.
Hey, Jeremy, can you make me a co-host, please?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Good
There you go.
evening.
Maria, 25 is a quorum tonight.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Julio.
Good evening.
Hi, Pat.
Everyone.
Cynthia.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Lou. Says I have 6 o'clock. I'm going to start the webinar, so we should see attendees start to join.
Jeremy, do you want me to make a list of elected official reps?
Yes, please. Thank you, Natasha.
You're welcome.
Hey, Jeremy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Cesar?
Jeremy, there's a name on the attendees list that looks familiar. Amanda Iannotti, is she from Sheldon Lobel's office?
I believe so.
Okay.
She might be a resident of 32nd Street, though. I have somebody with the same last name there.
All right, I'm so give me 1 second while I figure this out. Okay. Jeremy, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Cesar.
Okay, are we at
Cesar, I
quorum?
believe we have a quorum.
All right. We'll give this a try. I may have to shut my camera off. I'm having some bandwidth issues. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I just, before we get started, though, I want to do some housekeeping because I know there has been some challenges with the attendance and with keeping track of members. So I want to just first apologize to Pat because I know I've been making her life miserable, and I want to be clear that the only way to get counted as being present in the meeting is through one of the two roll calls that we set up, right? So we're going to do a roll call immediately after we start the meeting. Then we're going to do another roll call somewhere in the middle of the meeting. Those are the only possible spaces that count for being present in. I know some of you have texted me, I'm here, or I'm having trouble. I might acknowledge you back. Sometimes I don't. I find it really hard to try to run the meeting and also try to like accommodate people's like just showing me their hands or alerting me to their presence. So I want to again reiterate that you need to be present in one of the roll calls. And I think the other thing that I want to explore is how to get in touch directly with either Pat or someone on the staff, either Jeremy, Maria, or Natasha. It can't be me anymore because I'm having trouble keeping up. I'm having trouble remembering that you told me you were here, and then I have to tell Pat or I have to tell the staff. Let's avoid all of that, and let's use the roll calls, and let's use a direct link to someone on the staff or Pat. Okay. With that said,
If Jeremy, just very quickly, if Jeremy could put my email somewhere for everyone, or even my cell number, I don't mind. You text me, call me. But this is only until while we're meeting online. When we're in person again, who knows when, we'll go back to the regular way to sign in, etc. So I hope you guys understand. And this is, I'm not trying to be mean, but I am the chair of membership and attendance, and I would like to be included in all of this stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, and again, I apologize, Pat, because I should be more on top of this, but it's really hard to run the meeting and to see a text message, hey, I'm here. If I don't tell Pat in the moment, which sometimes it's impossible for me to do, I'll forget, and then you'll be marked absent. So again, let's use the protocols that we came up with to try to make the meetings go a little more smoothly. Okay, so Beverly, can we count on your trusty American flag? There we go, and let's recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Beverly. Okay, roll call. Jeremy, take it away.
Maria's got it tonight. I do want to point out Ken Fung is here as an attendee. I am trying to promote him to panelist, and it doesn't want to. I think he has a different version of Zoom. We've run into this problem before. We will try to make it work.
Okay, good evening, board members. I will be calling your names. Once I call your name, unmute yourself, say present or here, and then once again, mute yourself. Thank you. Ramon Acevedo. Ramon Acevedo. Sandra Alfonso. Sandra Alfonso. Grisela Amador.
Present.
Thank you. Genesis Aquino.
Present.
Thank you. Alexa Aviles. Alexa Aviles. Nicholas Azadian.
Here.
Thank you. Joan Body.
Here.
Thank you. Stacy Boyd.
Here.
Thank you. Gladys Bruno. Gladys Bruno. Please mute yourself. Julixa Campusano. Julixa Campusano. Joseph Canale.
Here.
Thank you. Justin Collins.
Here.
Thank you. John DeLuper. John DeLuper. Beatrice DeSapio.
Here.
Thank you. David Estrada.
Here.
Thank you.
Yes,
Cynthia
here.
Felix.
Sorry.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Fontillis.
I'm here.
Thank you. Ken Fung. Ken Fung.
Yes, here.
Thank you. John Garcia.
Here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anthony Giglio.
Here.
Thank you. Cynthia Gonzalez.
Here.
Thank you. Hector Gonzalez.
Here.
Thank you. Kenny Guan.
I'm here.
Thank you. Nicole Huang.
Did you
call?
Thank you. Zach Jaycee. Zach Jaycee. John Johnston.
I'm here.
Thank you. Beverly Kleiman.
Present.
Thank you. Waco. Waco. Barbara Lee. Barbara Lee. Christina Lem.
I'm here.
Thank you. Jimmy Lee. Jimmy Lee. Paul Mack.
I'm here.
Thank you. Antoinette Martinez. Antoinette Martinez. Aurelis Martinez.
Here.
Thank you. Marilyn Melman. Marilyn Melman. Dan Murphy. Dan Murphy. Gloria Rodriguez Navoa. Gloria Rodriguez Navoa.
Here.
Thank you. Julio Pena III.
Here.
Thank you. Rovika Rashkashan.
I'm here, Maria.
Thank you. Karen Rolnick.
Here.
Thank you. Pat Ruiz. Pat Ruiz.
I'm here. I'm here.
Thank you. Sam Sierra. Sam Sierra. Brian Slater. Brian Slater. Victor Swinton. Victor Swinton. Cindy Van Bosch.
Here.
Thank you. Catherine Walsh.
Here.
Thank you. Fred Wolf. Fred Wolf. Cesar Suniga.
Present.
Okay, and I see John DeLuper.
Yes, sorry, my audio cut out earlier. Thank you.
Okay.
Maria
call from John.
Jianghua Lee is here. Jimmy Lee.
Who's here?
Jianghua Lee or Jimmy Lee.
Jimmy Lee? Okay, I'll mark you present.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, roll call done.
Thank you so much. So I'm still having some internet problems. I'm going to be off camera for a little bit until I deal with it. So let me just go ahead and officially gavel us in. I'm calling this meeting to order. And the first item on the agenda would be to the adoption of the agenda.
I make a
Motion.
motion to adopt the
Corrections
agenda.
to the agenda.
I'm sorry.
Motion
before you say motions. Go ahead, Jeremy, with the corrections.
So the land use committee no longer requires a vote. I believe John will explain that. And
Great. Okay.
and the Antoinette Martinez asked if the housing committee could go last because she was expecting to be late.
Not a problem at all. Okay. So given those amendments, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt.
Okay,
Second.
and a second. Okay,
Second.
great. So it seems like Joan made a motion, seconded by Beverly. So I'm going to go ahead and ask if there are any objections for us to move this with unanimous consent.
Fine.
Okay, hearing or seeing none, motion carries. Okay, next item is the adoption of the minutes of the October 20th board meeting.
Motion
dis-
to accept.
Okay, so moved. A second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. And again, unanimous consent. And if there are no objections, motion is approved. Okay,
Can
And
I just ask who made the motion?
just for the record, that was seconded by Jimmy Lee.
I got Jimmy. I didn't hear who the first one was.
The first was by Pat Ruiz.
I appreciate that. Can we use names? Because I can't always see who's speaking right away.
yeah, that sounds great. So if you're gonna make the motion or second it, just call your name out and then make your motion or your second. Thank you. Okay, next item is the adoption of the minutes of the November 1st public hearing. Any discussion?
Julio Pena motion to adopt.
Joan seconds it.
Okay, again, if there are no objections, I'd like to move this with unanimous consent. Hearing or seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. Now we go to public comment.
Members of the public, you have up to 3 minutes to speak about any issue that's on the agenda this evening. There is a second public comment about other issues. You could use the raise hand function and we will call on you for 3 minutes. Cesar, I see a hand up, couple of hands up.
So why don't you go ahead and manage the roll call on that? Because I can't see the list right now.
No problem. I have Victoria Alexander first. Victoria, you can unmute yourself and you have 3 minutes to speak. You can watch my screen for the time clock.
Okay. Well, I can't watch your screen because I can't read them through the screen at the same time. But hi, I'm Victoria Alexander. I'm a former member of CB6. After 8 years of service, I resigned this summer. I'm a Red Hook resident, and I'm working with Jim Glasser of South Slope, who's currently unavailable, on a growing coalition of people to save the Grand Prospect Hall. The original structure still stands, even though a demolition permit has been filed. And if not the actual structure that is there, we are interested in maintaining a cultural and community space in the tradition of the Grand Prospect Hall in the new structure. The coalition includes a wide range of neighbors and many others throughout the city who have found memories of the Grand Prospect Hall and are disappointed that the new owners plan for market rate housing with the least possible affordable housing and nothing respecting the Grand Prospect Hall's 130-year history. Our petition drive had over 40,000 signatures. We've been working with the offices of Jamani Williams, Carlos Winchaka, and also have had preliminary conversations with Alexa Avila and Shahana Hanif. We've gotten significant press from many media groups and well-televised news conferences with other stories coming out from the New Yorker next week. our pro bono legal team, Jessica Brewer and Norman Siegel, who got an injunction which halted the DOB demolition permit for 2 months, but has since expired, and stand ready to fight any new plan that does not include a cultural space based on the SEQRA statute. I think it's SECRA. They are removing an important part of Brooklyn history while we fight for recourse. Our coalition includes a former EDC exec, NYU professor, and other community and cultural people and social circles with many cultural sensitive real estate investors who are eager to create a business case and plan that includes a cultural space for this community. We do not have the legal power to force the new owner, Angelo Rodriguez, to do something he does not want to, but we are gathering a business case to present to him that will help with his business goals while we're trying to create a win-win opportunity for him and the community. From CB7, we are seeking feedback, advice, and awareness amongst our members who can refine our plan and further grow our coalition. Anyone with a relationship with the Rodriguez family that would help us persuade him to keep a cultural center in the development. Advice on the process to get variances with the idea of identifying an owner with the capability of building something slightly higher in trade for cultural space. There's some other notes here that I'm confused on, so I'm going to skip over them. But I think that what we realize is that the Grand Prospect Hall is a huge loss to our community, and we're looking for ways to convince the current owner to sell to somebody that's interested in holding a cultural space for the community or developing this project with a cultural space for the community. I'm looking to CB7 for advice and for input on addressing this issue.
Thank you. For somebody who didn't watch the time, you kept it real tight to 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Just a reminder though, folks, this first public comment period is about items that are on the agenda tonight. We're happy to take all public comments, Ms. Alexander. I'd invite you to reach out to the board directly tomorrow, and I will be happy to speak to you. Okay.
Thank you.
I believe the gentleman who had his hand up is going to wait to the second public comment. Cesar, I have no additional hands up right now.
Great, thank you. And Victoria, I'll reach out to you as well, because I'm interested in this, obviously, and also have just want to get to know a little bit more about the work that you guys are doing. So you can expect a call from me as well. Okay. So let's go to committee reports. So there was a meeting of the special subcommittee on last mile trucking facilities. There is no vote required, so I will refer you to Katie's report. The next committee report is coming from the land use committee. I know that there isn't a vote required, but John, I'll give you the floor to explain what changed.
Sure. Can everyone hear me? Okay, thank you. The Land Use Committee met as a public hearing on November 1st, and then met as a committee after the public hearing. The application was to request a BSA waiver or a special permit to locate a school in an M12 zoning district at 341 39th Street between 3rd and 4th Avenues, the Sunset Yards building. We heard a presentation from the applicant, the Brooklyn Prospect Charter School. However, the committee felt that some additional information was required in order for the committee to take a vote. So we tabled the vote. We have made a request to the applicant to provide several items of information. Our hope is that we receive that in the next couple weeks, and then we will reschedule the Land Use Committee meeting to review the application, and therefore hopefully be able to recommend to the board a recommendation after that review. So there is no vote tonight, although the public hearing and testimony was taken on November 1st. And for those of you in the public who have an interest in this application, we are still taking testimony, I believe, Jeremy, until I would assume tonight. Or do
We originally said until tonight, since there won't be a vote until sometime in the future. I suppose you could continue to take testimony.
Okay, so we'll continue to take testimony until we reschedule land use committee hearing. We will let everybody know via our normal communication methods when that meeting will occur. So that concludes the land use report, Cesar. Although I will say, if the people at the Grand Prospect Hall are interested in referring the matter to land use landmarks, that we could also take that up as a committee review as well.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. So yeah, there seems to definitely be a lot of interest around the Grand Prospect Hall. So absolutely, we'll take you up on that. Okay, you know what? Before we go on, I want to go back to Katie's committee. Just, is there anything else you want to add to your report?
Yep.
Yeah.
First, the report has not gone out, so that has to get out to everybody. My apologies. I will get that out as soon as possible. We had a meeting just on October 25th. This was the third meeting that we've had of the special subcommittee on last mile facilities. What we heard in that meeting were a couple of legislative options that are being explored at the state level. That was sort of one focus of the meeting. We also did a bit of a debrief where we talked about what we had heard in the last two meetings, where we had Department of City Planning and Department of Transportation present. Big sum total of those two agencies presenting on last mile facilities. They told us there was nothing that they could do. That was sort of like, that was the statement. So in terms of a lack of accountability and leadership on this, here we have the Community Board 7 trying to figure out what we're going to do about the last mile facilities in this district. So we have another meeting that is being planned. It's on November 30th. The focus of that is really advancing on what actions and efforts we can put out, statements to pursue. I want to thank the folks who are on the committee. Please come back for November 30th if you want to be able to track this. If you're not on it and you still want to come, we will be really focused on that meeting on the 30th on city options. And we are about to have a new mayor. We're about to have a new city council. So really be able to zero in for the start of the new year on city legislative options. So look out for the report. Please join us on the 30th. And the last comment that I will make is, I really want to give appreciation. We've got folks who are coming from the Housing Committee, from the Land Use Committee, from Transportation Committee. This is a cross-cutting issue. And so really it's great to have support from all across the community board. Thanks.
Thank you, Katie. Okay, let's go to Public Safety Committee. There is no vote, but again, I'll extend Cynthia Felix an opportunity to add or to make any comments related to the meeting.
Thank you. Yes, I would like to add two things that were brought up at the meeting. The first one that was brought up was the 311 handling of calls by NYPD. That was recently became an issue, is an investigation, a report that was done by Street Blogs and several residents, many residents on the call, the majority of them, as well as several board members, brought up the same issue about how 311 calls were handled within the 72nd precinct specifically, because a report was done, an investigation, and they found that the calls were being closed within a few minutes, but no action has been taken. We did ask the 72nd precinct for specific data, which they did not have at that time, but we plan to follow up because we need that data, because we want to know how the 311 calls are handled in the community. And this is regarding traffic violations. So cars parked at hydrant, dangerous drivers, etc. has been an issue. The other issue that was brought up was the use of 19th Street now for trucks. And it relates to Katie's report. And a lot of people were concerned now with the last mile trucking that will continue to become an issue, since the 20th Street was rerouted to one way. Now 19th Street is overrun by trucks, and there are schools on that block, a lot of concerns, and only 26 violations were given out. I did get a follow-up from Officer Gerber Fernandez, as folks had asked what were the What was the police presence late night, early morning when a lot of the trucks use the block, and 0 violations were issued during this time period. And that is the time where a lot of residents had said that the trucks were being used. So that's something that has to be followed up with as well. And then the last issue is the use of the rotating tow truck. So just informational, we found out that there's one tow truck assigned to Brooklyn South that tows abandoned vehicles. To date, even though there has been many complaints and abandoned vehicles are marked to be towed, they do not have the capacity to do so. They really couldn't explain why there's only one tow truck, except to say that's how they're assigned. So it's only one tow truck, and a lot of residents brought up the fact that cars have been abandoned. There are 2 attachments to the report, one that John DeLuper brought up, who's a board member, and one that residents of 26th Street brought up, that the cars have been abandoned or parked on the sidewalk, and the police do not have the capacity to tow them because of the rotating tow truck system, and there's only one tow truck. So we're trying to think of ways of how we could do that. New administration, new things coming, just seems that it's underserved. And that is my addition. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. And I owe a lot of people apologies, including Jenny Zhang, I think, from Marcella Mateus's office. I did reach out to Marcella. They're interested in meeting with us to talk about the 20th Street truck route and the one-way conversion. So I will, Cynthia, I'm going to loop you into their office to maybe get something on the books to have a conversation, because I know there's a lot of interest, and it's growing around not just the truck route, but just generally enforcement related to traffic. So I think everything that you just talked about in terms of the lack of resources at the precinct, all of it ties into this broader conversation about possibly needing more resources for greater enforcement in our part of the district. So I will do an email to the Assemblywoman's office and to you, Cynthia, and hopefully we can get something on the books to have a much broader conversation about all of this.
Perfect, thank you. And then the last thing was the education of stores that are selling the e-bikes, the e-scooters, etc. It just so happened that one of our board members was walking along the street during the meeting and did a pop-in at one of the stores, who said they've never gotten any educational materials, even though the precinct has said that they sent them out. So we did ask them for a list of who was receiving the educational materials and ensuring that they're in the 3 languages, because we've only seen them in English. So thank you. Katie actually was the one that was walking by and did a spot check for us. So.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia. Appreciate that.
Follow up. Thank you all.
You bet. Okay, next committee report is Ability and Access Committee. No vote required, but again, I want to, if Cindy Vandenbosch is on, I'd like to give her an opportunity to add or to make any comments on the meeting.
Hi, yeah, we had the meeting 2 days ago, so I'll be submitting the report within the next week. We were joined by the Brooklyn Center for Independence of the Disabled, the executive director, as well as an accessoride advocate. And, it was a very informative meeting, just at what's happening on the state level, also issues that the Brooklyn Center for Independence of the Disabled has encountered over the last year. Just a few highlights, and then you can read the report. But one of the things that they mentioned is that the New York State Senate and Assembly both now have accessibility committees for the first time. And so we're hoping to learn more about what initiatives they will be addressing. There's also a bill before the Assembly that would, and I don't have the exact language, but the issue is to address the fact that there's a sub-minimum wage for people with disabilities that they want to kind of change so that people with disabilities will be paid what they deserve for their labor. And the last thing that we discussed several different issues related to transportation and accessibility. And one of the issues that they raised was there is, of course, we know about Access-a-Ride, but there is also a service that's an on-demand service where, if you use Access-a-Ride, you pretty much have to request for the vehicle a couple days in advance. Whereas if you, this on-demand service enables people who need to use the service to book transportation in real time, like anyone else would need to do if they needed to get a taxi or get from here to there. And there's just a concern about whether the MTA will continue to fund that program. And so I just wanted to share, those were some of the issues we discussed, as well as several others. We were essentially getting ready to draft a letter in terms of our priorities to share with the incoming administration, as well as our newly elected officials, city council members, as well as at the state and federal levels. So thanks so much. That's all I have. And we will be scheduling a follow-up meeting as well.
Thank you, Cindy. Appreciate it. Okay, and then finally, is Antoinette here? Because I know she wanted to go last, and this is our last committee report.
She isn't here, Cesar.
Okay, is there a report that we can refer the members to?
Yes.
Okay.
Jeremy was sent out earlier today.
Thank you, Natasha. It was sent out to all the board members today, Cesar.
Okay, no problem. So I'll just refer you. Unfortunately, Antoinette has not joined us yet, so I'll just refer you to her report, which is in your email. Okay, so we're now at the point where we're going to do our second roll call. Natasha or Maria, go ahead.
Okay, board members, I will be calling the board members that weren't present with the first roll call only. Please unmute yourself, say present, and then mute yourself once again. Ramona Acevedo. Ramona Acevedo. Sandra Alfonso. Sandra Alfonso. Alexa Aviles. Alexa Aviles. Gladys Bruno. Gladys Bruno. Julixa Campusano. Julixa Campusano. Zach J.C.
Here, I'm here.
Thank you. Waco. Waco. Barbara Lee. Barbara Lee. Antoinette Martinez.
I'm here. Barbara's here.
Thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
Antoinette Martinez. Antoinette Martinez. Marilyn Melman. Marilyn Melman. Dan Murphy. Dan Murphy. Sam Sierra. Sam Sierra. Brian Slater. Brian Slater. Victor Swinton. Thank you. And Fred Wolf. Fred Wolf. Okay, that's it.
I'm here. I was here earlier too.
We didn't hear you say present.
Oh, I said it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Okay, now next item is hearing from.
You call me?
Or their
I'm
representative.
sorry, did you call me?
No.
You didn't call me?
Who are you?
The second roll call, folks, is only for those people
Can you-
who did not respond to first
Because
roll call.
Yeah, I'm good. So make sure I'm here.
We
Okay.
see you, hear you, Kenny. Thank you.
Okay, can I ask everyone to mute? And Jeremy, do we have a list of either elected officials or their representatives?
Natasha's handling that tonight.
Natasha, go ahead.
Okay, I would like to call on Ting Ling from Councilman Menchaca's office. If you're still here, unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes, we can.
Hi, this is Tang with the council member Menchaca's office. I just want to provide some brief updates. So as this is our last term in office, we are going to, or we have already been transitioning. So starting the week of the 29th, we will be going remote, and then shortly after, our office will be closing permanently, and then we will return all our equipment and stuff to council. And another last item is we received an overwhelming amount of donations for those impacted by the fire recently on 43rd and 5th. So if you have an organization or you know of an organization who need clothing donations, we pretty much have everything, kids, women, men. I am going to put my information in the chat and we can arrange a time for you or for another organization to come pick up clothing. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ting. Can I ask you to email Jeremy directly or the board office, because we don't have the chat function available?
Okay, yeah, sounds good. I'll email Jeremy. Thank you.
Okay, Natasha, keep going.
Next, Patrick Kwan from the Community Affairs Unit of the Mayor's Office. Please unmute yourself if you're still here.
Hey, how are you? It's Patrick Kwan.
Thank you, Patrick. Please continue. Patrick, I think we lost your audio.
Patrick?
Are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Great, apologies. Hi, my name is Patrick Kwan. I'm a senior advisor in the Community Affairs Unit. I'll also be serving as the contact for CB7 for that. So please reach out to me with any issues that I could be helpful with. Just by way of introduction, native New Yorker and former South Slope resident. So I have some familiarity with the neighborhood. So just want to thank everyone who was able to make it to yesterday's City Hall in your borough resource fair. We had a really great turnout. I saw actually a couple of you there. So thank you so much. And so yeah, I'll make sure to share my contact info, and I know that Jeremy has it as well. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next.
Next, John Watkins from the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office. John, if you're still here, you can unmute yourself, please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. Good evening. Hi, this is John Watkins from Eric Gonzalez, our district attorney for Brooklyn. And first of all, he sends us well wishes. And as you know, there was an election recently, a couple of weeks ago, and DA Gonzalez won that election. And he does sincerely thank all of those who voted for him and who support him in his efforts in his office and role. The next thing is that with the NYPD 72nd Precinct Public Safety Committee just about a few days ago, I arranged for one of our ADAs to present to the committee information about how the DA's office works in conjunction with the NYPD. There's a lot of information that people need to know in terms of the role of the DA's office, in terms of how people who are arrested for crimes are processed through the system. Some people have the inclination that the DA's office is directly responsible for releasing people who are arrested and may be on parole and so forth. And that's not the case. But perhaps after the first of the year, I can arrange for that particular ADA to come before the CB2 and to present the information as well. As I know that there are probably some folks who were on that committee or at the NYPD 72nd Precinct who may have been present there. So I'll work on that and to arrange that after the first of the year. DA Gonzalez sends his well wishes for the holiday season. And I always ask people to go to our website, brooklyndA.org. You know, we hear about these crimes that are committed in our community, and we see it on TV, and folks that are arrested and so forth who, you know, are perpetrators of crimes, and then it goes away. Please know that practically 2 or 3 times a week, there are press releases that the DA's office sends out that give information about the prosecution of those crimes. And people in our community need to know that, because, you know, there's a very short cycle in terms of how information is sent out in this community, and it goes away. But please know that DA Gonzalez and his ADAs are working diligently to prosecute those crimes. That's all I have to say right now. Would everyone please have a safe and very happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Jeremy, and Cesar, those are the only elected official reps I had on my list.
Thank you, Natasha. That's great. So let's keep this moving. District Manager's Report.
Thank you, Cesar. Good evening, everybody. I just want to, with regard to the roll calls, when we call your name and you respond, we always acknowledge it, whether it's Natasha, Maria, or myself. We'll always say thank you or something when we hear your name. If we do not acknowledge you, we have not heard you. Please be aware of that. Since our last meeting, DOT has gotten in touch with us regarding 7th and 8th Avenues. They are planning to change the proposal that they had presented to us the early part of October. They are also pushing back their schedule for this year. They actually already installed some wider pedestrian safety areas at 8 crosswalks. Most of those are in our district, some of those at our district and across the street, so that would be Board 12. And I believe there are 3 also in Board 10. They're also supposed to be looking for locations for truck loading and unloading zones for this year. They are saying that they still plan to make both 7th and 8th Avenues one way. They are looking to do that next year, so we might have the opportunity to help improve their plans when there is a new administration. They are also still planning to do a sheltered bike lane, but instead of having one on 8th Avenue and one on 7th, they would do a 2-way sheltered lane on 7th. They have promised that they are going to come back to each of the community boards before the plans are implemented next year. Applications are now available from the 5th Avenue Committee for the affordable apartments above the new library being built at 51st Street. The community board at 4th Avenue, the community board has posted this information to our social media accounts. 5th Avenue Committee has also put out this information. You do need to contact the 5th Avenue Committee, however, to get an application because they need to know who the applications are going out to. So if you have not gotten our communication yet, it's available again on our Facebook. We've tweeted it out, but you could also contact us and we'd be more than happy to give you the appropriate contact information for that. Last Friday, I attended a ribbon cutting for Regen Lab at BioBat. It is when BioBat was first brought to this community, it was seen as the next step after the biotech incubator at Downstate. This is the first business to graduate from Downstate to Sunset Park, to the Brooklyn Army Terminal. It represents 150 jobs. I did not hear if any of those jobs were in our community, but it is an increase of jobs and within our community and within Brooklyn. There were 2 fires that a lot of people have heard about in the community. One actually up the block from the community board building. It's 475 43rd Street, which is the building right at the corner of 5th Avenue. That was, I believe, a 3-alarm fire, and 24 families lost their homes and possessions. The council member collected personal goods, clothing for folks from the community, and the Sunset Park Business Improvement District started a GoFundMe account or campaign, I'm sorry. Really thank them for the work that they're doing. They had previously done that for other community tragedies. I'm told that it sits just under $10,000. And if folks would like to continue to donate, these are 24 families in our communities who may have lost everything. we're more than happy to get you the information through the Sunset Park bid. Last Friday, I met with Cindy Vandenbosch, Cesar, Victor Swinton, and Sandra Alfonso to strategize about the future of Bush Terminal Park. We have a new administration coming up. We want to talk about getting that park fully funded and built out, as well, of course, as fixing or correcting some of the problems that have popped up in the 8 years since it was opened up, but never fully completed. As part of that, I want to make sure that everybody's aware and is invited to the joint committee meeting between the Parks Committee and the Ability and Access Committee on December 1st with Steiner Studios, who are presenting their proposal for the new playground at Bush Terminal Park. So come hear about their proposal for the playground and share your feedback. Liquor licenses since the last meeting, there have been 7 which are available in the office for anybody to look at. The police department statistics were emailed to everybody as part of the package you received today. And I just wanted to mention Cynthia Felix brought up the meeting that we had, her meeting last week, her committee, public safety. Captain Chen attended that, and he heard from a lot of the community about many issues, including that ticket issue. What I don't think a lot of people know is the next day Captain Chen retired. So I don't believe we're going to hear back from him. That's my report.
Thank you, Jeremy. So let's go right to the next item, which is the Chairpersons Report. So I'm going to be really brief because we're doing really well on time. Couple of things to fire. For obvious reasons, it's been kind of near and dear to my heart. And I just want to continue to encourage all of you to make donations if you're able to do that. And I think we heard from Carlos's office that in terms of other types of donations, I think they're pretty much saturated. So at this point, it's really about trying to raise some money for these families. And so I, again, just want to highlight that and encourage you all if you haven't. And I'll have Jeremy send out the link to all of you tomorrow, just in case you're able to do that. And I obviously wanted to thank David Estrada for taking my call very quickly and agreeing to work on this GoFundMe. David, really appreciate your support on that. And thank you for that. Okay, the next item, just wanted to give you an update. I've been representing the community board at, it's a joint sort of a coalition of stakeholders in Sunset Park called the Sunset Park Technology Advocacy Committee. And one of the major goal of the of this cross section of stakeholders is to address the issue of broadband access in our community. There are lots and lots of families in this community who don't have access to broadband and high-speed internet. I think the pandemic really laid bare the need for having broadband access. This is no longer a luxury. I think it's really a necessity, just like any utility is a necessity. And now that the infrastructure bill has been signed into law, we anticipate that there are going to be some opportunities for funding for infrastructure, including building up our broadband infrastructure. And so we're going to be meeting with elected officials at the state and local, state and federal level on Friday. So I should have more information about how that meeting turns out. And really the purpose of the meeting is to strategize with our state and federal representatives around how to be ready to to apply for those funds when appropriate, but also to make sure that we're working with, you know, local institutions and stakeholders in making sure that we get our fair share of some of that federal money. Again, you know, the work that we've done has really uncovered the need through data. The data doesn't lie. The data is pretty clear. There are lots and lots of families in this community that need it, not want it, or not, or it's not, again, a luxury, it's a need. So we're really trying to work with the state and federal representatives to close that technology gap. In the next several weeks, and again, another apology, I know several of you have contacted me about some issues. I absolutely have you down on my to-do list. I will be reaching out. And I also want to will be reaching out to chairs individually to talk a little bit about something that I mentioned in our September meeting, which is to have just kind of a list of priorities for the new administration, for the new council. I'm feeling really optimistic. You know, one of our own is going to be our next city council representative. So that gives me a lot of hope that we're going to be able to really, you know, move the needle for our district. And so I think, you know, January really represents a new beginning for the city. And I think we really need to lean into and work with our new local and citywide officials. So you'll be hearing from me on that in the next several days, certainly before the next, our next December meeting. And just quickly, I wanted to, I'm going to send Jeremy the flyers. Another sort of network of stakeholders is organizing a Thanksgiving lunch and a dinner on November 23rd. It's some of the local community organizations that you all know, that we know, like Visión Futuro, as well as the Carpenters Union and a couple of other agencies have been super generous. They've gotten turkey donations, and this dinner and lunch is being organized for the community for free. We especially want to include the seniors in the community. We want to include the homeless shelters. So all of the information will be provided in a flyer that I'll circulate tomorrow, and Jeremy and staff will have it. And that's it. That's all that I have. Thank you.
Cesar, I have one board member with a hand up.
Yep, go ahead.
Ray Acevedo.
We can't hear you, Ray. Oh, okay, no problem. Thank you.
So what I believe Ray is trying to say is he does not have audio control right now. Ray, can you give us a thumbs up? Is that the case? Wait, you seem unmuted now. Can you talk?
We can't hear him.
No. So I know Ray would like to be marked present for this meeting. Am I correct, Ray? Okay, so.
We got you. One last.
Hang on. So Pat is the chair of the committee. Pat, can we acknowledge Ray like this?
Yes, Ray. And if you need some help, please reach out to the office to figure out what your problem is. All right. Thank you. And thank you for like.
Folks, if you're having trouble on any particular night, please figure out a way to try to get in touch with us. Ray was able to do it.
Just one last thing I did forget. I'm also recruiting volunteers for this lunch and dinner. If anyone is interested in helping us serve the food and doing some of the deliveries that we're going to do to the senior centers, that would be fantastic. So I'll give, again, Jeremy and staff information tomorrow about how you might be able to sign up and help us on the day of for either the lunch or the dinner. And finally, I want to give a shout out. I think I see Ruben Colon from the Carpenters Union, who is the hero that secured the turkey donations for us to give to the community. So Ruben, thank you so much for all your work on that front. So with that, I'm going to leave it there and go on to our next item, which is old business.
Cesar, I don't know if you could see the hands. Do you want me to call on folks?
I got it. So Nick and then Katie.
Okay.
I wanted to bring a update for the Sunset Park Task Force. So I don't recall the exact date on when the last meeting was held, but it was some time ago. And the topics were about the creation of a fund as it relates to the Equinor lease, and then determining, getting a group of individuals together to help strategize where that money should be applied, with major focuses being on equity, impacts to localized business, primarily as the state attempts to transition to greener power, and what that implies for the local residents. As an update, I was slated to sit on that committee to help kind of strategize where that money would be applied. That does not dictate who would be getting money, but in terms of, which groups and what are the best ways to help facilitate that. We will be having our first meeting in December. I don't believe the date has been established for that. And we would be seeking community input to help ascertain, which groups should be, or what is the best way to ensure that that money is disseminated properly at some point in the future by a different group of people. The next Sunset Park Task Force will be December 10th. I believe that invite has went out. I don't know to exactly who, but I believe Jeremy should have it. So that can be then publicized via the community board. And I think that's really the only update. Not yet. All right. I don't know. So that's what I have.
Thank you, Nick. Katie, and then Julio.
Great, thank you. I attended that meeting as well for the Sunset Park Task Force. It was really interesting. Just to say too that they are still accepting people who want to join. It seems like it's reviewed sort of on like a monthly basis. So especially knowing that Equinor has a $5 million fund that is meant to go to this community, the community board, the public, neighbors, like transparency, people should be involved and be talking about this, and not just leave it to EDC to decide how money gets allocated. So really, like, this is a call to action, I think, for folks to show up at that Sunset Park Task Force and please be involved. I just wanted to mention that as part of old business, I hope I'm doing this in the right place at the right time, the sinkhole that keeps getting larger and larger at Bush Terminal Park. Jeremy talked about the larger infrastructure challenges at Bush Terminal Park. That is something that I, just as a neighbor and a resident, have followed up with EDC multiple times to try and figure out about the sinkhole that is getting larger. And we got an update. Jeremy was on this call. It was like a short call with two folks from EDC. What they shared with us was that there was a problem with the way the funds were being allocated from the contractor with the city, or the contract with the city. Therefore, EDC is going to use money that they have access to fix the sinkhole, and that the sinkhole will be addressed in the next 6 to 8 weeks. And this meeting was last week. So that's the update on the sinkhole at Bush Terminal Park, and EDC using budget and funds to fix it over the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Thank you, Katie. Julio, and then Paul Mack.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to, in terms of old business, mention, I know probably a couple of years ago now, we supported the renaming of a school in the district after Dr. Antonio Pantoja. We've been kind of working behind the scenes to push for this renaming. Pat and I, probably 2 weeks ago now, finally met after the summer meeting with the superintendent, met with the new school on 60th Street and 3rd Avenue with the SLT, the school leadership team, to answer any questions about the renaming. We're semi-hopeful that the school will decide to rename, and in which case it'll go back to the superintendent and then to the CEC, the Community Education Council, and then to the Chancellor for final approval. And we'll circle back to the community board if and when they need another push. And then the second item I just wanted to bring up, the Independent Redistricting Commission had held its Brooklyn public meeting yesterday. They're still accepting testimony. I encourage everyone to submit if they care about how their district lines are drawn from state assembly to state senate to congressional. It'll have real lasting impacts on how this community gets represented in the not only state legislature, but in our congressional districts. So I encourage everyone to participate and to submit testimony in Independent Redistricting Commission, irc.gov. Sorry, irc.org, I believe. Or Google it, New York State Independent Redistricting Commission.
Thank you, Julio. Paul, you're on.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to talk about the homeless shelter that is coming to 8th Avenue and corner of 65th Street. Even though we understand that the location will be within the district CB10, but however, I think the impact to the Asian community along 8th Avenue in the Sunset Park area, within the CB7 area would be quite high. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to work with the CB7 office and to really put in a request to the Department of Homeland Services to request a meeting so that we can better understand their proposal as well as to express some of our concerns. So I guess within the Asian community, we do have a identity crisis where the majority of the Asian community, we are not happy about the location because the fact that after the DOT making 8th Avenue and 7th Avenue one-way, 65th and 8th Avenue would be the main entrance to the Brooklyn Chinatown. And as you know that the city is trying to put in a Chinese traditional archway on 8th Avenue and 63rd Street. So basically, the archway is something that will be happening the first time in New York City, and the community has been really anticipating that for a long time. And by the DSS putting in a homeless shelter just 2 blocks away from the archway, and almost the exact corner for the entrance of the Brooklyn Chinatown. So we are very concerned about it, especially the way they have been talking. So basically, the building is going to be maybe up to 10-story high. So it will be really towering our community, as well as the archway that we have been working on for the last 10, 15 years. The reason I said that we are having a little identity crisis is that the majority of people do agree with me that there's a great need for homeless shelter in the community, and but just there are issues that might really might indicate that that particular location might not be the best way to go as far as having a homeless shelter, because I think when you read that in the newspaper, the city is really paying $10,000 a month per room to those operators. But in the meantime, what we are seeing in our Asian community, the majority of people are really stuck in the single room occupancy. So there's really discontent really within the services that the city is trying to offer, as well as compared with what the community really needs. But however, there are a small group of people who have been really demonstrating and really yelling and screaming at that particular location. And however, the tone that they have been using is rather racist, rather radical, something that we do not agree on as a community. But however, unfortunately, outside of the Asian community, people just look at that as one big voice coming from the community. So I hope that the Asian Affairs Committee, as well as the CB7, will be able to really let the outside world know that, hey, we do not like the location of the homeless shelter, just because that will be towering our symbol of the Brooklyn Chinatown, not because we hate the homeless shelter, not that because we are afraid of the drug trafficking and things of that nature. I don't know how we are able to really tell the whole world that, hey, there are two groups of people. We are more sensible. We just want to understand the proposal. We just want to express our concerns rather than just yelling and screaming. So I just hope that again, the CB7 would initiate a correspondence to the DSS or the Department of Homeless Services to see whether they will be willing to meet with us to tell us their proposal and to listen our concern. At the same time, we want to work with the CB7 office and the board to make sure that to let the outside world know that we are not biased. We are not really against the homeless situation, the homeless people. There's just a very small group of people that are doing that, and we just have no control of how they are behaving themselves. So that's all I want to say. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. So yeah, look, I mean, again, I know this is another one of these pending issues that has come to me, and so I will follow up with Kenny. I'll follow up with you. I want to follow up with Jeremy, because although it's, there's like the sort of the technical stuff, which is it's not in our community board, but I agree with you 100% that it still affects us, right? So like we can't just say, okay, we're not going to deal with this because it's technically not in our community board. I think the lived experiences of the community that lives around that sort of that border matters. And so yes, Paul, I hear you. I think the sensible thing, and what I'm going to discuss with Jeremy first, is doing some outreach to our neighboring community board so that we do this collaboratively. And what I'm going to insist as chair of this community board is that that the voices of the people who live right on sort of that intersection of our community boards, those experiences and those voices need to be heard, and we want to work with them to create that space to hear your voices. In addition to, I think your point about a dialogue to make sure that people don't think it's just one monolithic voice coming from the Asian community is really important. I think on a lot of levels, that's something that needs to be understood as as something that as a context where there are lots of voices and lots of opinions and lots of points of view, and I think we need to raise those up. So 100% hear you, and I will definitely follow up with you in the next week or so. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, and Kenny, your hand is up. Go ahead. Old business.
Yeah, sister. Yeah, I want to just follow up with what Paul mentioned about the homeless shelter. Basically, the location, 801 65th Street. It was a gas station. Number one, I believe, I'm not sure they have been doing a phase 1 and phase 2 study, because it could be a gas leak or contaminated with the soil. So we don't know that. That's number one. And also they have 121 family, homeless, for this family with the children's. We know that, but the location we have is also a low income for Asian Chinese community. And also we don't have a lot of resource to support this project. And I know this project, the location 01 65th Street, is right on the border of our commute bus 7. Basically, the people who are the commercial business also and the resident, it's more people from Chinatown come from commute bus 7. And commute bus 10, when they picked this location, I don't know who picked that location. And hey, you know, this is belong to the zoning map is belong to commute bus 10. And basically it's more on the commute bus 7 aboard and in the Chinatown, in the heart of Chinatown. And also the location is the gateway of the Chinatown. So I mean, that location is not gonna work with the entire community, right? So as a board member of CB7 board member and Asian Community Affairs, I want to emphasize if we are housing committee and public safety can look at this, you know, to get more information about what they're doing and to reach out to Commute 10 Josephine Blackman. We got to get more pressure with what is going on and, you know, with this entire project.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to leave it there. I hear you, totally hear you. It's not something we can manage in this meeting in this moment. So I will definitely set up a meeting where you know, we can do some level setting, we can do some strategizing, and we can think about a plan. What I want to be clear on is that I'm absolutely hearing your concern. I'm absolutely hearing your perspective, and I'm going to respond to it. So thank you, Kenny, and thank you, Paul. Okay, you bet. All right, new business. Okay, so let's go with Cindy, then Grisel, and then David.
Yeah, I just want to let people know that the Southwest Brooklyn Industrial Development Corporation has an industrial career pathways program, and they are accepting applications for the program, which will start on December 6th. It's for 18 to 29-year-old residents of, I believe, Sunset Park, Red Hook, and Gowanus. So those neighborhoods, people that live in close proximity to them will also qualify. So it's 18 to 29-year-olds, and it's an industrial career pathways training and job placement program. And it's meant to kind of connect people to the kinds of opportunities that are available in the industrial sector, and also provide them with some foundational skills training. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. If you know any young folks in the community, ages 18 to 29 that are looking for opportunities, please have them reach out to the Southwest Brooklyn Industrial Development Corporation or apply through their website. And I will pass along the flyer that was sent to me to Jeremy to distribute throughout the community board as well.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, I want to recognize Grisel. Hi.
Hi. United Senior Center is giving tablets to the seniors thanks to Department for the Aging. They will provide the training and everything for the seniors. United Senior Center also did a donation for the victim of the fire in 43rd Street. So we provide all that donation. We give it to the City Councilor, Carlos Menchaca. We're starting to get the toy drive in order to give it to Community Board 7. So Jeremy will give me exactly the organization where all these toys donated by the seniors will go this year. Today, we celebrate the Puerto Rican Heritage Month. And for that, we have a special launch domino tournament. In the domino tournament, I want to thank very much George Cardona and Damaris Santiago, because they the one who made the plans with United Senior Center and provide everything that we need. We received a special visitor today, Alexa Viles. She was there to talk to the seniors, and she enjoys too much the Dominoes tournament. We also have Melissa from the Congress, Lady Nidia Velasquez, We have Sara Ortolosa from the New York Langone, and we also have Precinct 72nd. We have token distribution also, thanks to the Senator Mary and to Sara Ortolosa from New York Langone. Thanks to them, we're also gonna have Thanksgiving celebration and the lunch for Thanksgiving, and also free raffle to the seniors. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, David Estrada, you're next, and then Julio.
Yes, just on behalf of the Sunset Park bid, I hope you've all seen the holiday lights go up. They should be illuminated by Thanksgiving. They have to go up early just to get the work done. They'll stay up open at least through King's Day. The bid sponsors those holiday lights. They're not a function of the city. We pay for that. And also on a happy note, we're going to keep up our tradition of having the holiday tree on the corner of 60th Street and 5th Avenue at OLPH. And on December 3rd, we'll have a tree lighting ceremony with some light entertainment, Santa, some giveaways, all those sorts of things. That'll be in the late afternoon. Keep an eye out for notices about that. I want to thank the volunteers from Vision Futuro who joined the bid this last Saturday to clean up tree pits on 5th Avenue. We're going into the winter season, but I want you all to know there will be volunteer opportunities to clean up trash and take care of our trees and do all sorts of wonderful things as we come into spring. And lastly, on the topic of the fire at 43rd Street, I was standing on the corner working on those tree pits when I saw those families going upstairs one by one, escorted by the white shirts from the fire department to collect the few little bits of toys and Santos and the things from their homes. It's really quite heartbreaking. Also, 3 businesses were affected. The council member's office has announced that they've received so much stuff. You've been so generous. They don't need more stuff, too much. But it's not always about money, but sometimes it's about money. And I want to give these families as much as I can. There were 35 people, more than 35 people living in 6 apartments. And many of those children are in public schools at Brooklyn Rise and down the street at St. Michael's and at PS1. So I want to give these families money before winter. It's as simple as that. And if you've given, thank you so much. If you're tight, like myself, and giving isn't the thing you can do right now, spread the word. Ask neighbors, friends, tell the story, and I think we have a real chance. We're almost at $10,000. I would love to double it. This is a fundraising appeal. I almost never do this. I wouldn't do this in this context, but these are children who've been put out of their homes when the weather's getting cold. And I'm very passionate about that. I hope we all can rise to the occasion. I can guarantee you this: the bid distributes every single penny that we get from this directly to the families. There's no other administrative or stuff like that. So anything you give goes to families. And with that, I want to say thank you, because this isn't the only time in the last couple of years we've seen how generous and caring Sunset Park can be in a time of need. And I keep getting, I'm old, it takes me time, but I keep getting taught the same lesson more than once. This community knows how to take care of people. So thank you, and let's go forward.
Thank you, David. Okay, Julio, and then Barbara.
Hi, I'll be brief. In the spirit of David's previous comment, in holiday, we're exploring the idea of doing an in-person holiday event after the December board meeting. So if you're interested in putting something together with me, please feel free to reach out via email or phone, jpena3@gmail.com. Or if you don't have my contact information, feel free to reach me via the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Julio. And you can contact me as well. We're going to coordinate that together. Thank you, Julio. Okay, Barbara Lee, let's go.
Hi, how are you? Sorry. How is everybody? My throat's kind of messed up. Okay. The first question I wanted to ask, I just got back from the UK, and it's amazing that I was able to get all of these kits to test myself at home for COVID. And I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can provide services to people by giving out kits to people. And the other thing is that I hope we have a discussion about the potential of, about Brooklyn Way Hotel possibly becoming a homeless shelter. And I wanted to find out what happened to those two shelters that was supposed to be on 4th Avenue, like around 14th and 15th Street. So just have a bunch of questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, next, Antoinette, and then I think Pat will be the last person on new business.
Hi, so I apologize for coming late to the meeting. I wanted to have the opportunity to go through the Housing Committee report. So as I'm sure everyone has seen by now, there was an email circulated last week announcing that the Sunset Park housing application has gone live on Housing Connect. On the Housing Committee notes, you'll find links to resources that are being offered by the Fifth Avenue Committee, including in-person help completing the application. An appointment can actually be scheduled with the Fifth Avenue Committee by calling their community services helpline, and their number is 347-844-0220, and that information is included in the Housing Committee notes, as well as links to information sessions that were held during the summer. And those sessions are in various languages and review the application process, and also provides information, more information on the housing project. The link to the Housing Connect website is also on there, as well as the housing lottery ad. And I've reached out to the Fifth Avenue Committee for translated versions of the ad. And I'll also be reaching out to Housing Committee members who may be interested in flyering and doing some more community outreach. The deadline for the application is in January, so we do have some time between now and the holidays to help get the word. Our last committee meeting was on November 4th, and thanks to Genesis, we had Amy Blumsack from Neighbors Together present on the Housing Our Neighbors with Dignity Act, also known as HONDA, and supportive housing. And this meeting was prompted by a New York Times article that was discussed at last month's community board meeting. The article showed Eric Adams in front of a vacant hotel in Sunset Park, and many community members felt that this was being promoted, and what was being promoted was the building of additional shelters in the community. Well, Eric Adams was promoting, but thanks to Genesis and Amy, what we were able to gain clarity on was that Eric Adams was actually promoting legislation that passed earlier this year that seeks to convert distressed commercial units like vacant hotels into supportive housing. And Amy helped to explain more about the technicalities of supportive housing, but the main takeaway was that supportive housing is permanent housing solution, not the same as the shelter. So it's really helpful to clear that up. More details on the HONDA legislation and supportive housing can be found in the PowerPoint circulated with tonight's agenda. And then also through that meeting, Cindy had mentioned the importance of advocating for supportive housing to be built in locations where folks with disabilities have access to good transportation options. It was mentioned that it's not always the case, and more advocacy work there needs to be done. And also thanks to Nick for helping to bring up the point that the HONDA legislation is currently receiving $10 million in funding for statewide implementation. So this would translate to roughly about 10 building conversions throughout the state, which certainly isn't enough, but Amy helped to confirm that this is the start and advocates are pushing for more funding. And then I just quickly want to mention that the Housing Committee is really excited to start different topics in the coming months. So we're going to be scheduling meetings based on landlord fire safety. We plan to have an informational on local law 152. Other ideas of meetings in the upcoming months are basement apartment and code enforcement, housing accessibility work group meeting, and also an economics of the 737 4th Avenue development. So we're just really excited to hit the ground running on a number of topics. So sorry I'm late, but
Okay.
and that
Thank
was a
you,
lot.
Antoinette. That was great. And just one last, can you repeat that phone number for the housing lottery? Because I think I really want to make sure that we have that available and possible to give to others. So what's the number?
Yeah, so the phone number is 347-844-0220.
Thank you. Excellent. Okay, great. All right. And then Pat.
Yeah, I actually have a question for David. I don't know if he mentioned it, but I was curious as to these families. Have they been given placement or are they with families?
The families did, the office of Assemblywoman Marcela Mitañas is coordinating the casework for the families that were displaced. I like to say households or families, so thank you for that, because there were a lot more families and households than apartments in that building, which is highly questionable. Some of the families have found apartment placement in Sunset Park already, which is fantastic. They receive some services from HPD, some from the Red Cross, but those are kind of time sensitive. The real, I think we learned this again at previous tragedies in the neighborhood, that some of the agencies sweep in, they do what they can, and then they're gone. The real question is, what happens to a kid who's in school down the street in February when the fire was in November, right? So that's where we come in as a community, I think, because we're here for the long haul, and the agencies come and go. So everybody did get intake. They got, many folks were undocumented. Some had other considerations in the household, but the office of Councilmember Menchaca and the Assemblywoman are heading up the casework associated with assisting those families. I hope I mentioned this before, but if I didn't, South Brooklyn Mutual Aid headed up a massive collection of the stuff that people need. But I think they've called that off, because as so often the case, sorting out who gets what and when it's physical objects is so hard, and yet a lot of these people need to make a first and a last rent payment somewhere, or cover a medical bill, or take care of the basic needs of daily life, and we can't guess what that is. So that's why we're continuing the fundraiser. Even if we do an initial disbursement of funds, we're going to continue that fundraiser until we make sure we've given as much as we can to all these families.
Yeah, thank you, David. And I want to reiterate, in terms of, again, having had this experience myself, like the first few weeks, particularly after you get displaced and you're mobile, frankly, the last thing you want to deal with is like stuff that people give you, because you have nowhere to put it. You have nothing to do with it. So I know the intentions, folks mean well, and the intentions are really awesome. But right now, particularly as people are transitional, the thing that really helps is the money and having access to the money, because the stuff is really hard to manage. It's kind of like another thing to have to kind of worry about after having lost your home and all of your possessions. So I just kind of want to reiterate what David just said. Really, right now, it would be great if we could double that fundraising goal, because that's really what's going to be the most helpful, I think, over time. And that's sort of what, just to kind of piggyback on what David said about the generosity in this community, we, over time, there were things that we needed, and we were fortunate enough to be able to turn the community, and the community responded. But right now, I think the essential thing is money. Okay, Nick, and I think that's it for new business, and then we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda.
this might fall into old business. I apologize if it doesn't fit here, but this is really to call out local law 152 compliance. If you are a homeowner of a 3-family or larger property in Sunset Park, by law this year, you are obligated to get the gas piping inspected by a licensed master plumber. We will have another meeting for this at a later date, but it has to be completed by December 31, or you could potentially face a fine of up to $10,000. So I just want to bring awareness to this to anybody who might be involved now rather than when we do our meeting probably later in December. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, Jeremy, do you have a list of folks who want to speak on things that are not on the agenda? This is the time to do that.
The members of the public, if you wish to speak about any item you wish, please raise your hand now and we will call you in order. Cesar, you'd like me to call them? Okay, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. I have Ted Godfrey first. Ted, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, great meeting. Really amazing what you guys are doing. I just want to comment about last meeting and the representatives from the 72nd precinct. I was very, very disappointed in their responses. Either not just pointedly not saying they're going to answer questions, or seemingly oblivious to what the situation is at their own precinct house. And you know, and the 311 calls, you just get the feeling that they just don't want to deal with it. They don't want to bother. And as I had pointed out last time, I had tried to contact the community representative there a few times, but never got a response. So I asked if they wouldn't just take my phone number down right then and there and call me. And they were hesitant to do that, but finally did. And guess what? They didn't call me. So you guys probably know about this. I guess I'm new to this, but I'm not going to waste my time talking to the police anymore. It's completely a waste of time. Any thoughts on that? I'm done.
Thank you very much. So this is time for statements, not Q&A. You're more than welcome to reach out to the board about your thoughts and questions. I have a number of people texting me right now. I have Dan Rothman next. Dan, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Dan Rothman, and I'm not a resident of Sunset Park, but I and several others who are members of the Sunset Park community, we're interested in forming a citizen safety patrol group. And one of the leaders behind it is a man named Rene Cruzada, he's grew up in the neighborhood and he's got roots there as well. And at this point, we're 7 people, and we have various backgrounds in community volunteer organizations. And we'd like to establish an organization comprised of citizens who are interested in helping their communities and wish to volunteer their time to patrol local streets and subways, assisting citizens in need of help, becoming violence interrupters, and acting as a deterrent to street crimes and general crimes against persons. Our organization will emphasize public service and dedication to safety. Our members will undergo specific and very stringent training programs in first aid, crisis de-escalation, and self-defense techniques if necessary. The most of our actions would involve alerting police and using numbers to deter and stop crimes against people. Our general modus operandi will be to operate within the capabilities and rights given by citizens to assist their fellow neighbors and to assist the police and others in prevention of crime and promotion of public safety. But we really, really want to operate within the, as we're developing this, we would like feedback. We like to operate within the ethos of the community here. And that means that we would be very sensitive to what people think and try to fit in. And, our organization would be something that would emphasize community service, supporting youth, and also helping vulnerable and less fortunate people in this community. So I just wanted to introduce myself, and we plan on attending further board meetings and seeing what we can do to help this community, help our community if there's an opportunity for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. So I think I obviously have a lot of questions, but this is not the time or the place to get into that conversation. What I would suggest is that you reach out to Jeremy in the office to get your contact information, so that I think for me, the first logical step in this conversation is to run it through our public safety committee to have a much broader conversation with stakeholders, and to have you kind of give us more details, to have opportunity for questions and concerns. I think, the history of our community and police relationships is something that we take very seriously, and it's a conversation, I think, right? Because I think while we have, again, a history of somewhat acrimonious relationship between police and community, we also, as you heard, if you were part of the earlier part of the meeting, we also have like the need for more enforcement in certain areas. So I think my suggestion to you would be to reach out to the office to get your contact information and to put you on the agenda for a public safety meeting where we can have a much more robust conversation about your suggestion and idea. So thank you for that. Okay, any other comments, public comments?
I see no additional hands, Cesar.
Sounds great. So with that, I am going to ask to.
No, I had my hand up. I don't know how my hand went down. Can you hear me?
Yep. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Okay, because I did have something to say, and I wanna first of all refer to what Paul Max said in his comments about the homeless shelter going up over there. And the reason that I wanted to address this is because back in the early 80s, when I was the district leader, Sunset Park was targeted for methadone clinics. And trust me when I tell you that the reason that to this day we don't have methadone clinics is because of the screaming and the outcry that I brought to bear with the state of New York regarding this coming here. Now, we have, last mile, we have public safety issues, we have, housing issues here. And let me tell you something. I truly believe that the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and I will back Paul Mack up to the max, because if you don't scream and if you don't have an audience that is going to say this cannot continue happening, because we have always constantly been targeted for super saturation of facilities and for services that no other community will tolerate. So I want to say that, we need to keep screaming and screaming loudly, for things that we don't want in our community. And that has to be through public education, that we have to let the community know what these people are trying to do to us. Cynthia Felix in her committee, she brought up about the respiratory problems of the children in our community, due to the exhaust from all of this truck trafficking that's coming into our community, and all of these plans that are made for our community, which are not accepted and not tolerated in other communities. So the bottom line is that we have to fight against supersaturation of facilities and services that we do not want in our community. And that starts with getting the word out. Because back in the 80s, I remember that we had a march because storefronts were not storefronts, they were crack fronts. And I led a campaign, Mothers Against Crack, here in this community, where we marched to Sunset Park. We went all the way to OLPH, and there were snipers on the roofs, trying to stop us from doing what we were doing. But we got it done. We got crack cleaned up out of this community because we were super saturated with crack. So I'm just bringing up the history because this can all be repeated continuously, and it's still being continued. Like, we are being targeted for supersaturation of things coming into our community that are completely undesirable and unacceptable. And we need to be ever vigilant. In the 80s, when they parked the Bivy Venture on the on our pier, and this was a prison that, through my work and my campaigning and with the help of the people from the Bay Ridge Towers, because nobody here wanted to do anything about it, we drove that prison out of our community waterfront, because our community waterfront was targeted for a prison. Come on, how much are we gonna tolerate? How much are we going to sit back and say, oh yes, we can do this? Oh yes, we're gonna put a homeless shelter on the archway of our Chinatown. This is ridiculous. And I wanna say that, thank God that, I still have life and an ability and a willingness to fight for my community, because I don't want this here. And that's why, even though in my incapacity, I will help my comrades in arms to fight this saturation of undesirable things in our community. And that's the end of my public comment.
Thank you. Okay, any other public comment?
There are two other board members with hands up, Cesar.
Okay, go ahead. Who's next? Katie?
Thank you. And Cynthia, thank you for reminding us of what you and others have fought for this community and continuing to fight. There are two things that I just wanted to mention. I don't know if Ted Gottfried, he's still on, and he talked a little bit about what happened at that public safety meeting. And I don't know if he caught the update that we got from Jeremy, which is that the captain resigned the next day after that meeting. And so again, there's a lot of accountability on data, 311 calls, everything that was called in. The captain from the 72nd retired the next day. And so we have Cynthia, again, her leadership on following up on a lot of those items. I know we're all kind of looking to her leadership to that, but for that accountability. I did just want to say, just to be able to react, there was public comment by someone who came in who noted that he was not from the Sunset Park community, and then talked about basically acting as community policing and patrolling in the neighborhood. Someone not from Sunset Park showing up and saying that they wanted to be on foot and be patrolling the neighborhood. This is very alarming to me, and I know that the direction was that they should show up to the public safety meeting, but just the fact that this is a community meeting, I find that really triggering, that someone not from here is showing up to a community board meeting and talking about how they want to start being on foot. And God knows, I don't know what the agenda there is, but I just found it very triggering and very troubling. And so, I will go to that public safety meeting if that's where they show up next. And I don't know if anyone else had that reaction, but it just felt important to say something.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. So any other public comment? Okay.
Yep, I got an attendee with a hand up.
Okay.
Dan Rothman, you can speak now.
Well, we've already heard from Dan Rothman, right? So we don't.
That's true.
I just wanted to address.
We're not gonna do that right
Mr.
now.
Rothman, this isn't a conversation at this point. Please be in touch with the office and we will set up as Cesar had mentioned earlier.
Thank you. Okay, so motion to adjourn from Julio. Do I hear a second?
Second. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.